Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here to do the Friday Night SmackDown recap, which took place on August 29th in Lyon, France. And the last time we were in Lyon, we had a huge crowd and definitely have some expectations to live up to. So let's go ahead and get into the actual show. See if the crowd lived up to the expectations, and see if the SmackDown show as a whole has begun to right those wrongs we've discussed in previous weeks, and have a special surprise for you here in a bit. So the show starts off with a quick recap of last week's happenings between Logan and Cena, and Logan then arrives to the arena and makes his way down to the ring. Logan says that he's the future and Cena is the past. Paul then states that the 6.6 billion in total revenue from WWE and TKO, from Netflix and ESPN, are all because of him. And on top of that, the cherry on top, if you will, is adding that prime endorsement that sets it in the at the ringside. So he says that he's turning WWE into WW Me. So if you like that line, I guess. John Cena then comes down to the ring and gives Logan his first lesson in thugonomics. He says this crowd can see right through you and that he's a dollar store version of John Cena. And until you give it your all to this business, that you won't get the respect you think you deserve. Cena also apologizes to the kid he once verbally assaulted. I believe that was in Brussels. I knew I recognized the kid, but I couldn't remember where exactly he was from. So I'm not sure if he made this trip out here on its own or if that was a pre-planned thing. Regardless, that was a nice little callback moment. Yeah, these two don't have to do much, in my opinion. I think they're both very good on the mic, and I've been looking. I think I'm probably in the minority, but I've been looking forward to this feud. I just think they both have a lot of potential, and they don't, like I said, they don't have to do a ton, and it just kind of works. Their dynamic is very very good. Obviously, Cena is one of the best on the mic, but Logan's pretty good as well working the crowd. So I thought this was a pretty good segment to kick off SmackDown. Maybe a touch too long, but kind of the same old issues we've been dealing with there. Getting into our first match of the night, we have what was supposed to be a tag team championship match for the women's side, and that was supposed to be Charlotte and Alexa defending against Piper and Alba from the Secret Service. But before SmackDown even aired, they announced on social media that Piper wasn't able to compete and that Chelsea was going to take her place. But another swerve, before the actual match begins and Charlotte and Alexa are making their way down to the ring, Green and Alba ambush Charlotte and take out her knee, and then she's announced that she's unable to compete. So the logic is definitely not there, but this is what we get. This ends up being a 1v1 match with Alexa and Chelsea. The match isn't very long at all, but does end up with a roll up win by Alexa. And then after the match, Alba comes in and does kind of Charlotte actually comes back to the ring as well, but Alba and Charlotte end up standing tall. Excuse me, Alba and Chelsea end up standing tall to end the segment. So a bit of a pro and con there. Secret Harvest looking strong as of late. Even though they did lose the match, they seem to have the upper hand. Although, granted, this is very much kind of rinse and repeat. Really need to be on SmackDown. We kind of hit on that before as well. Getting into the next match, we have Michin taking on Kiana James. And this was essentially Michin, if she felt she was worthy of challenging Julia for that U.S. Women's title, this was kind of the way to get there. She needed to beat her assistant, as she seems to be. But yeah, blink and you'll miss it, and that is not an exaggeration. Yet another roll-up win, Michin getting the win here, and apparently earning a shot at Julia's U.S. title. After the match, we see an ambush on Michin, including getting Arrivederci, as well as getting slammed into those steel steps. KP, I think it's fair to say that the women's issues continue here on SmackDown, as well as kind of the pacing overall of the show. About 25-ish minutes, close to 30. The Cena Logan, and then the women, I think, got about a combined 10 minutes, it felt, maybe even less than that. Um, but yeah, so I want to welcome you back officially from your holiday, and uh, let us know what you thought here the first half of SmackDown.
So first of all, good to be back. It's it's been quite a busy about 6 weeks or so now, probably 4 or 5 6 weeks. But either way, regardless, yep, looking to get back into the swing of things. Starting with the SmackDown, yeah, it seems to be a similar vibe to what it was when I sort of left. It seems to be like one segment gets like a really large amount of airtime, and then the women maybe do get a little bit less of that. Starting off with John Cena and Logan Paul, though, the segment was fine. Like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I started to think that they had a good back and forth on the mic. Logan, just saying exactly what he feels like, and some of it is really, really funny, and it's really, really good. Like, it works. Like, it fits his character so well, and he does sort of like play that role really, really well. And it riles everybody up, which is obviously what he's meant to be doing. The way that he just sort of like says that he was, he's the reason why WWE is making so much money at the moment is just absolutely crazy. But you got to respect the pure audacity of the guy, I suppose. He's not afraid to do that, is he? But Cena, yeah, firing back, and just the way that he does so confidently on the mic all the time. It's been the case throughout basically his entire career. He's always so calm, collected, composed, and just he just absolutely nails it on the head every time he's on the mic. So one of the best when it comes to the mic for sure. And he definitely didn't let Logan off with an easy time here. The throwback to the kid earlier in the year in Belgium was quite funny. Didn't really expect that until he was getting out of the ring and walking towards that part of the crowd. Then obviously it like clicked in my head to say, okay, he's going to go and do that, isn't he? This kid's here, surely. But yeah, that was quite a good throwback. I quite enjoyed that. And this whole sort of 180 that Cena's done, I guess they're just trying to really forget about everything that did take place, and they're trying to literally just, put a blanket over all of it and just try and cover up for everything that took place. So, I mean, hey, look, that's where we're at the moment, so I guess, you just got to go with it at this point, right? We have criticised it beforehand, but that was a while ago now. We're in this section now, so we got to go with what we've got, and this version of Cena is the Cena that we all know and love. And, just building that match up to Clash in Paris. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I mean, I would have rather, someone different to be in this position rather than Logan Paul, but it is what it is, and, that's what we've got now, so let's just go with it, see what happens. Could be a very good match. Logan's always great when he hits the ring, so this feud's been pretty decent so far. Let's hope it's a really good match as well, coming off of that in Paris. I just want to say the crowd as well, by the way, was absolutely electric at the start of the show, and they didn't really let up throughout the course of the entire night. Just an absolutely unbelievable crowd. There's a reason why Leon was, I think was voted officially the best crowd. I think Wade Barrett even mentioned it on commentary, and they were loud as hell for this episode of SmackDown as well. So Paris hopefully is going to be the same as well. But yeah, they just want to say that they were great throughout this entire episode of SmackDown. Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. Yeah, I was sort of like trying to piece this one together in my head as the entrances were happening and stuff, with obviously the attack to Charlotte Flair. Guessing because Piper Niven was injured, it was meant to be Piper and Alba with a tag team championship opportunity. But unfortunately, because of the injury, I would assume they sort of changed the plans last minute, and that's why they had Chelsea and Alba attack Charlotte, making sure it's a one-on-one matchup. I guess it makes sense. It's a nice little pivot and a little turn with what you've got. So, I think that would be the reason why, I suppose. I wouldn't have expected them to have won the tag team titles, no way, but at least they've sort of like gone on a different route, and they figure things out in a different way. But Alexa Bliss beating Chelsea Green, not a massive fan of the way it was won. Roll-ups are... or something. We talk about these quite often, but it's just one of those things, I guess, isn't it, really? But I mean, the Secret Harvest at least standing tall at the end of the segment does work. They've been pretty good recently, Secret Harvest. I think the last time I was here doing these, they were a little bit sort of, trying to find their feet at one point, but they've recently obviously been on NXT and things like that as well. Seems to be all looking up for the Secret Harvest right now, although Chelsea did lose this matchup. They're getting the upper hand. They're standing tall at the end of segments. They're winning matches elsewhere. So I think it's definitely an improvement for these women, which is great to see. Obviously, you're standing up to Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. It's hard to compete with two people of such a caliber, but they're doing a good job. I think they're starting to find their feet a bit more. And then yeah, the Julia well, I guess you say the Kiana James and Meehan segment, the match, if you will, 6-7 seconds probably. I want to say it was less than 10, right? 100%. But yeah, you like you said, blink and you miss it. It was fast. Uh, Kiana's been out for a long time. Her first introduction back, losing so quickly. I guess they could put that down as a character thing for her, which I guess makes sense. But I mean, you have someone out for so long, and she's sort of like Julia's, business partner, I guess. Just working alongside her. Is that taking away some of the prestige maybe about this collaboration? I don't know. Perhaps maybe it is. But yeah, it makes Kiana James look pretty damn useless. Not gonna lie. But I suppose it was a roll up, so it's not like she was just flat out just completely squashed or anything. So quick roll up, lapse of concentration. I guess it's not so bad in the end. But yeah, Julia coming on out and absolutely destroying Michin alongside Kiana James. That stomp into the steps was nasty on the outside as well. And yeah, just Julia asserting her dominance. So I guess we're going to get Michin versus Julia pretty soon down the line. She's beating Kiana James. Naturally, then that means she's going to go for Julia next. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But not a bad first half of SmackDown. It's nice to at least see the women on the show, which is something. So yeah, I mean, I guess really in that case, it's been an improvement since the last time I was here.
Yeah, I think the best part about Logan and Cena is they both feel like they're being so real. Even though Logan's kind of character is very off the wall, kind of, almost, insane. Like, surely you can't think that. I think that works with a heel like him, especially. It makes him that much more effective. So yeah. And the Secret Service, I think, yeah, for sure, finding their footing. I think we both kind of sang our praises towards them, and it feels like even if they don't end up getting the tag team titles from them, they at least feel like a viable competitor. And so I think that is a giant step in the right direction, especially comparatively speaking. And yeah, although the match itself, wasn't great, and you kind of mentioned, Kiana definitely not coming off super effective here. Julia being on screen for what feels like the first time in, since she won that title, I think, where she wasn't a backstage kind of pre-recorded, possibly even. I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. But yeah, kind of more on the same. But as long as Julia continues to be made, super strong, I think that is a step in the right direction. Getting into the second half of SmackDown, we kick off Drew McIntyre coming out and basically calling out Randy Orton after he, bullies the announcing team again, asking for that update on Cody. Of course, they do not have anything. But we did get the announcement, if you hadn't already seen it on social media, that Cody and Brandy did welcome their second child. So that could potentially be the quote unquote injury we've been dealing with. But then after calling out Randy Orton, he says he has no problem being RKO'd if for the right reason. But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't because he thinks Cody is his friend. He then calls back to their King of the Ring match where Randy kind of fought with those voices and decided better against giving up the punt kick to Cody, whereas when the tables were turned, Cody had no problem going after that back, in which that was the reason he was appearing to be friends with him, was because he wanted intel from him. So certainly makes sense, and I think that's why that's why Drew's one of the best. Is he's a heel, and he makes a lot of good points doing it. Randy said that he didn't do that because of all that. He just did it because he thinks that Drew is a prick, which, valid point as well. Drew then hits Randy with a Glasgow kick, misses a Claymore, and then sets Drew up for an RKO, but is broken up by officials before Randy basically RKOs a lot of them. We've seen it before, but it never really gets old. So yeah, this is a good segment. I think if this means we're getting Drew and Randy, then sign me up for it. I'm all for that. We then get another tag match, which features Street Profits versus Mellow Don't Miz. This is to become the new #1 contenders for those tag titles held by the Wyatt Six. And speaking of Wyatt Six, before the match, I thought it was noteworthy that Uncle Howdy had begun playing mind games with both teams before their matches. And speaking of, very casually mentioned that the winner of this match will get that title opportunity at Clash. So rounding out that Clash in Paris card from 5 to 6 to include now what will be, after getting the win here, the Street Profits getting their rematch essentially, will be the Street Profits and the Wyatt Six at Clash. This match I felt like was pretty good. Maybe a bit short, but comparatively speaking to what we've had so far, it was definitely the best match so far. Um, yeah, I think they kind of continue that story. Miz getting distracted by the Wyatt Six, and then Mello tries to go for the pin, unable, and then him getting the pin and the loss there. So I think I hate to think that would be the last straw, and Mello kind of snaps at Miz, but if that results in Mello getting much more of the spotlight that he very, very much deserves, then I'm fine with it. But typically WWE doesn't tend to pull the trigger that quickly, so we'll have to wait and see. One last thing to know before the main event here. We did see the Women's SmackDown champion featured in about 30 seconds backstage promo. She's confronted by Jade Cargill, who says because she won last week that she's the new #1 contender. A bit of a head turner there as well. They were on the same team, so make it that what you will. It kind of frustrating. This is the women's division. This is the women's division on SmackDown now. We are excited that Julia got a small segment that wasn't actually pre-recorded. So at least making tiny steps in the right direction. But obviously, Tiffany and very much being almost what feels like an afterthought here. So I know we've discussed that at great length, but I'm going to keep doing it until they right the wrongs there. But getting into something more positive, the main event here, which has Solo Sikoa defending his U.S. title up against Sami Zayn. So it feels like this has been a very quick kind of pivot. Sami wanted to go for the world title. He was on Raw. Now he's over on SmackDown challenging Solo Sikoa for that U.S. title. But yeah, this was by far the best match of the night. We didn't get too far into this one before Jimmy and Jacob come down to the ring, so kind of more of the same there, but doing their best to help a friend, a fellow Uso, if you will, and kind of even the odds with the MFT, and they very much did just that. But then we get on to our proper match with Zayn and Sikoa. Zayn hits a Blue Thunder Bomb, and it gets one of the closest to 3 counts I think we'll ever see. Solo then lands a couple of spinning solos, but that's not quite enough. And then to end the match, Zayn hits not 1, but 2 haluva kicks to get the win and is your new U.S. champion. And this was a great way to end what wasn't a terrible SmackDown, but wasn't a great SmackDown either. Making baby steps, but this was definitely the highlight of the night, I'm sure, for most of us, and I know for a fact it was for you, KP. KP, what did you think of this second half of SmackDown? Finally got some decent in-ring action, as well as that promo from Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton.
Yeah, so lots to talk about in the second half. Drew and Randy will begin there. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused by the whole Drew Cody thing, and then then we just almost pivot backwards to Randy Orton. Is it because they weren't aware of the due date or something? I'm not entirely sure about what's happened there, but I think regardless, it does seem like they sort of panicked and just taken a step back and just gone with the most recent feud, because it didn't look like Drew and Randy were even a possibility a few weeks ago. This whole SummerSlam stuff seemed to be over, and it seemed to be okay. But now we're back here again, and it's I don't know, just a little bit of a strange one, a little bit of a weird one. But regardless of that, I suppose we now have a part-time champion in WWE as our WWE champion. But we'll talk about that another time. With Drew and Randy, they're always going to put on a great feud, aren't they? So I don't really have any complaints about this, to be fair. If this is just a little bit of a stopgap until Cody is back and ready, then obviously we'll have to wait and see. By the way, congrats on the birth of their new child over the past weekend. Obviously very, very happy for them. I joke all I want, but it's there is some sincerity in there. But yeah, when it comes to Drew and Randy, this is just going to pick off where we left off, right? Easy as that. There seems to be no gas that's been dropped off, so it all just continues, and we can just basically just go back to where things were. Randy just saying that Drew's a prick was just funny. Just that appeals to the Brit within me. Yeah, just a lot of heated back and forth between this two. I like they had a bit of a conversation with each other at first. Which ultimately led to the little bit of a brawl at the end of the segment. But I think some things were said that needed to be said, and it sort of like raised the intensity back to what it should be. So that was quite nice. The brawl at the end, Randy dropping all the security team. That's Randy Orton for you. That's what he does. And I quite enjoyed the Nick Aldis segment at the end as well, where I think Randy would give him a little bottle of whiskey. So, yeah, why not? You need this, buddy. Have a drink. But yeah, decent segment. That build, we'll see where that goes. As to how long Cody's out for, I don't know. But it definitely seems that it's going to be Cody and Drew next. Just, I don't know how long down the line that's going to be. So we'll have to wait and see. But either way, I'm keen for this. Profits and Melo and Miz. Yeah, I mean, the dynamic between Melo and Miz has been so interesting the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we've seen Miz sort of like go it on his own and, overrule Melo almost to get these victories. But this time, obviously, it was a case of the Wyatt Six appearing and basically, essentially, they just said, we want to face the Profits. That is literally what they did. They just appeared at ringside, distracted Miz, cost them the match, and they let the Profits get the victory. So they may as well have just basically come out and said, we want Dawkins and Montez Ford. So I don't know what that was about, but it's quite interesting that. Is there really big beef between the Wyatts and the Miz especially? I mean, that dates back to when the Miz was on Raw, part of the Final Testament all those months ago, probably like last year sometime. I mean, that's some long-term storytelling if we really are going into that again. So maybe that wasn't ultimately finished in the end, because there was a little bit of Karrion Kross where Kross essentially just what was it? If I remember rightly, it was he forced Miz into the situation, and then the Wyatts were essentially moved to SmackDown, and then it's all just sort of seemingly got forgotten when they got injured. So maybe they are bringing that back. It seems to be maybe that's the play. I don't know if it really is. But because they've got the Profits now, they obviously got them at the Clash in Paris, which is going to be this weekend. So obviously they've already got, a team they need to get past first. So very interesting, the dynamic there. I thought the match was quite fun. It was decent enough. And the Profits getting a tag team championship rematch. I'm keen for regardless. They're a great team and they deserve to be at the top of the card for the tag team division when they can be. So, I've spoken enough about everything else. Now let's talk about my pride and joy of the show. Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa for the United States Championship. So, we've been talking about this build in the recent weeks as to, the way this sort of could go down. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they should be really, really careful with how they do this. And what I meant by that was you don't have somebody who is looking to win the World Championship go over and suddenly challenge for the United States Championship to then lose. So the fact that they've actually had Sami Zayn beat Solo not once, not twice, but 3 times in 4 weeks, if I remember rightly. Correct me if I'm wrong later. But yeah, actually physically pinning the champion 3 times in the space of those weeks is crazy, right? I mean, that's just your way of completely pivoting this underdog character and turning him into what they've done recently, this main event of WrestleMania character, and they've gone down that route now. Whether this is enough to please everybody, I don't think it will be, because I've seen a lot of people online talking about this victory and discussing what it means to them and how they really feel about Solo's reign and where it's gone up, obviously up until Sami coming over from Raw to win this title. I mean, this is Sami's last championship that he needed to win before the World Championship. So now, Sami Zayn, if he wins the World title, he would become a Grand Slam champion. So there's that in there as well. But yeah, I think this is a different character than what we've seen over the last 7 or 8 months from Sami Zayn. This is one that believes in himself a whole lot more than he normally would. If you guys called him Sammy Hogan before, you are gonna hate this version of him right now. Because the next few months are going to be eye-opening for all of you. I can guarantee that. But I am absolutely loving what we're going to be seeing from Sami Zayn here. Just the way that he's going at his business. He's looking way more confident in himself. He's believing in himself. And the matches that he's putting on, they never miss. They're always really, really good. They're entertaining. They're fast-paced. I don't know. I never really have anything bad to say. He is my favorite for a reason, and I can't wait to see where he goes. Into next year especially. But talking about this matchup here with Solo, the MFTs, they were pretty easily handled by Jacob and Jimmy, right? I mean, Jimmy at one point was he taking on JC Mateo and Tongaloa, right? Both at the same time. So, I mean, that's quite interesting. Jacob Fatu is more dealing with Talatonga. So yeah, I thought they were maybe a little too easily dealt with. Maybe that's my main critique from this matchup. Obviously, with a 2-on-3 disadvantage, they came out on top and they took them away from the situation. So yeah, very interesting for sure. But as to how this reign from Sami Zayn goes for the United States Championship, although I'm really looking forward to seeing, this just more confident side of him, do I really think this is going to be a long-term title reign? I don't know if I do. I really don't. But I think this could be quite interesting. Let's see how this plays out. Obviously, we can theorize all we like, but the world champion and Sami Zayn is in there somewhere. It's probably coming out next year. So I don't know how long they're going to be going along with this particular title reign. Maybe it could be a couple of months, 2-3 months, maybe perhaps at most. And obviously we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, I guess just strap in and see what happens. But I'm keen. It was a good match. It was definitely the match of the night, like you said. And it was a great moment for me, especially. Another one checked off the list for Sami Zayn. In terms of SmackDown itself, from the last time I did a podcast with yourself, Nick, for SmackDown, I think we were saying these SmackDowns were really, really poor. This one was much improved. Very, very definitely much improved. We actually saw, some more women involved here, although not a massive segment. We did have Julia, appear on TV in the ring, so that was quite nice. But obviously it was only very, very short. I think it's a step in the right direction. It's not perfect by any means, the show. But it's definitely stepping things up comparatively to what the last time I would have done a podcast with yourself was at the time. So I think for this SmackDown, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, just for the fact that you can see the steps in the right direction. It built to Clash in Paris quite well. We added another match. We've sort of fixed a couple of things that, maybe they had other plans for. I'm talking Chelsea Green, Alba Fire, and then Randy and Drew. And I know that sort of built back to last week as well, but this is sort of continuing with that build. And then obviously we've got a brand new championship crown in Sami Zayn, taking another one off of his list to become a Grand Slam champion one day, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, John Cena and Logan Paul kicking off the show with a great start, big promo battle, really enjoyed it. And just a decent show with a very, 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 very good crowd.
Yeah, can't fault that crowd at all. I 100% agree. I think I kind of mentioned it with the Clash in Paris predictions. Paris has a lot to live up to. I think people just assume that you'll get essentially the same crowd, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, not the exact same place, somewhat close, but it will be interesting to see this Sunday at a Clash. And yeah, I kind of agree with you. It is baby steps in the right direction. I still wish we could get at least 20 minutes to the women. I think that's a huge issue at the moment. But everything else obviously got some good promos, got some decent matches. Everything except for the women was really good. These shows are just so damn short that it feels like everything's being rushed, and even the tag match. It just felt like you had such a tiny space to do so much, and I think that's just kind of it. Just kind of feels like it's being rushed. But I can't imagine they're going to change the time back anytime soon. So for us, I'm just hopeful that they can continue to figure things out. But yeah, until then, I'm elated for you, KP. Sami Zayn winning the title here just brings a smile to my face. When someone close to you has their favorite win a title, it's always a happy moment. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this reign goes. I think it is going to be very tricky. Obviously, you don't want him to have a super short reign because then that could raise questions as far as well, is he deserving of a world title reign for the haters out there that would maybe say no. Yeah, and then how long do you want him to have it until you start pivoting to that world title scene? But yeah, you can certainly see the character change dynamic there. He's not kind of treating himself like an underdog anymore. He's getting very confident. And then for the Sammy Hogan comments out there, I think there are some people that deserve that Hogan moniker. but I don't think Sammy's one of them. Yes, he does. I don't think the underdog thing was working because he is winning so much, especially in the biggest moments. Um, but I think, I think people really struggle with the fact that, well, if you want someone to be pushed, you do have to have them win matches. And then all of a sudden you win two or three matches or two or three big matches, especially, then all of a sudden you're getting dubbed with the Hogan moniker. So there's a fine line, and we all know the IWC, we can be a bit nitpicky at times, but I do not feel like Sami Zayn has ever fit that bill. But yeah, decent episode. I too would give this an 8. Definitely some things done right. We just need to improve on the women's. That's really all it is. And they both got roll up pin victories. So just kind of coupling two of the things I can't stand. But yeah, decent episode of SmackDown. And now we have Clash in Paris to take place tonight. We have KP back at the helm with me here, so things should get back to normal, comparatively speaking, to what you're used to from the push here with Nick and KP. But with that, this has been another episode of the Push with Nick and KP. We will be back shortly with that reactions video for Clash in Paris. But until next time, this has been another episode of the Push with Nick and KP. Until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.